Horror Lies.
Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at Body Bags. It is week 553. It is opening week of June. It is a random week, and therefore I come to you this evening with something that's never been done before, to my surprise. The Sect by one Michele Soavi. 1991, soon after Cemetery Man will come, and then that pretty much is it for the Italian horror cinema scene that we really were able to indulge in throughout the, let's say late 70s into the 80s, throughout the 80s. A lot of these guys that we'll come to love and appreciate will be relegated to what is, in effect, an exploding Italian TV scene, unfortunately. And that is where they will work from there on out, pretty much. Michele Soavi, God, I love this guy as a director. He, when we think about, he pretty much is the end of the great moment in Italian horror. He really gets to send it off in good shape. It's too bad he couldn't have been its renaissance or its new beginning or an extension that could have lasted well into another decade or so. It just wasn't meant to be. But when we think of Michele, of course, you can't think, got to think about Stage Fright, right? Such an awesome movie. You got to think about Cemetery Man, which I've already mentioned, and you got to think about things like The Church, right? And then all the things that he was acted in. Kind of came up the long way under Dario Argento, and as AD, first AD, second AD, acting. Even rivaling Giovanni Lombardo Radice for roles such as The Gates of Hell, which across a lot of these movies in terms of extras, those anecdotes are pretty fun to listen to, especially when they come from Giovanni. God, I love that guy. I hate it that he's gone. But Severin's latest release of The Sect, it is a phenomenal release. Now, I caught it just a little bit too late for the slip and all. But let me just, again, I don't do this a lot, but I'm going to read the back. This is a film that more than not might have been missed by a lot of people out there. And so let me just take a quick little gander at this. The third feature by director Michele Soavi, his second collaboration with producer, co-writer Dario Argento, has been called deranged, from We Are Cult, disturbing, and long overdue for re-evaluation. That's bloody disgusting. Now it can be experienced like never before as a global satanic cable grows in ferocity. An unwitting young school teacher, Kelly Curtis, which is the sister of Jamie Lee Curtis, and her is chosen to deliver the ultimate evil. Herbert, Count Dracula, Mariangela, Giordano, Burial Ground, Giovanni Lombardo Radice, House at the Edge of the Park, of course, co-stars in A Nightmare's Fever from the visionary filmmaker. Scanned in 4K from the original negative with over 3 hours of special features, and that's where this release really shines. I'll point out just a couple, including new interviews from Soavi and Argento for the first time ever. It really is quite a release. In fact, if you're able to, I would jump not only on this, but Severin's, also their new releases of Cemetery Man and The Church, just to have those three together. I would imagine those two are really good as well as far as releases. It's funny, I just recently saw In a Violent Nature, and I'm seeing a lot of negative reviews on that, and I guess call it the Jason's effect on me. Our had been our Tuesday reviewer for quite a long time at Horrific Nightmares. He really impacted me a lot with just how much negative reviews aggravated him, and they're starting to aggravate me too a little bit. I don't know, man. I'm not going to review that. But I'll just say this: I was more surprised than I was the other. I'd been kind of putting it off, and my son finally convinced me to go check it out, and with him, and it was a good time. I think I said earlier on someone's post, Critterbuster's post, that I think the most aggravating moment for me was having to pay $8 for a freaking drink. That's a little too much. Well, he told me how much he paid for his style. That's just crazy. But there's one thing these two films share in common. You just got to be engaged, man. You just got to be in and just soak it up. And I think it's a 117-minute runtime for the Sect. It really takes its time. It's a patient film, and ultimately, in the end, you're either going to be satisfied or you're going to be left sort of at the end of In a Violent Nature, I guess, in a way of speaking. Although I have to say, I really did enjoy the very long car ride at the end. It really made me think a lot about the first Friday and that car ride, but from a different perspective. I actually got a kick out of it, because I wish we would have got a little bit more in the original Friday with that car ride, because it's really from her perspective back, right? You never see, obviously you're not going to see the killer, right, at that early in the game. But this really takes its time. It opens itself up really with a Charles Manson-like cult-like murder. These hippies, the 70s, and they're basically just out in the middle of nowhere, near some water, and I'm just enjoying life or whatever. And from out of nowhere, seemingly, this Manson-like cult-like, I just nut, man, comes out of nowhere, man. Just sort of moves his way into the group. Everyone thinks it's chill. Everyone thinks it's great. And then suddenly, it's early morning, and you're privy to just the mess, scene of murder, and what has been done as this cult has, in effect, descended on them. And you find this is just the very beginning. The next major sequence, we see Giovanni Lombardo Radice, and he is a cult member of this cult. And the cult is really is the centerpiece of this long-moving film that is, has an end in mind, but it's not afraid visually, and with its score and just the cinematography. It's not afraid. Michele's not afraid to take his time, and you just got to ride it. You just got to ride. It's 117 minutes. It's a bit of a stretch. It might have been able to have been cut down a little bit, but I mean, when all you have is the films that I've just showed you, really, in effect, they're worth just sitting back and really enjoying. Now with Giovanni Lombardo, we get he scopes out a prior cult member, and she sees him, and so we don't know why initially she's running to get away from him, and he actually lives with his wife and kid, man, and he goes after her. He's like, I'm just gonna get some milk, I'm gonna be right back, honey. And you have no idea what he's doing, and he finally catches up with her. Actually, he knows where she lives, and we find it all makes sense eventually. And initially it's like, dude, how'd you get there, and how are you in her house? But you do find out, that there's a reason. He knows her, and she apparently has fled the cult. And the price for fleeing the cult is like most that we have come used to, unfortunately, seeing, and that is, if you try to flee and they get their hands on you, you'll pay the price for fleeing. And so he rips her heart out, and eventually he's in a train station, I think, and he actually gets caught with the heart on his possession, which makes for the police sort of corner him down, and ultimately he ends up taking his own life. And so, these are just pieces, right? And, these pieces are falling into place. And then eventually, you do catch up with, I think you're with Mobius, he really is the cult leader who's been at this, and you don't see his face. I don't think you see his face when we're in the first major scene with the Manson-like murders. He's in a car exchanging some dialogue with Damien, who is sort of like the Charles Manson figure, right? Except he's not really pulling the strings in all of this. I think we're with Mobius first, and he leads us ultimately to our main protagonist, played by none other than Kelly Curtis, who is Jamie Lee Curtis's sister. And I thought she was phenomenal. I thought she was great. But you find out in some of the extras that, who was it? Michele wanted, what's her name from Nightmare 4, Nightmare 5 fame. But there was something going on, and she couldn't do it. So he fell back on Kelly Curtis, and I thought it was a great fallback. He says initially he wasn't too fond of her, but she grew on him, and ultimately he enjoyed having her on set and having her part of the project as his main protagonist, his main actress. And so, it is a really long plot, man. This is really sort of a, this is an old movie anyways. It's really, Michele's really interesting approach. Well, all three guys who contributed to the writing, Argento, who brought in a really interesting sort of, I guess, the Rolling Stones effect into the script. Romali, he had I think an unfinished film or an idea called Catacombs that he brought into the script. And of course, Soavi had his film that he didn't get to do, The Well. So really three contributing writers sort of brought these really different ideas into, and really lays out as sort of a Rosemary's Baby meets the vicious Manson cult-like idea wedded to H.P. Lovecraft in the end. There is a place for, is it Shub Nigarath, is that Nigarath? From the stories like The Mound and whatnot. So there's this satanic, yet otherworldly, Lovecraftian approach to an idea that we've sort of seen before, but also wedded to the Celtic, really saturated in just Celtic ideas, and which visually, if you know anything about Michele, he is a visual guy, man. I mean, it is the image that outweighs the narrative, really. I mean, it is, or the mechanics of the plot, as Lovecraft would say. The imagery outweighs some of the set pieces, the scenes, and just the atmosphere, aesthetics that he's like a painter, and he just paints, and he's quite a visionary director. Another guy who sees things not so different than him is Richard Stanley, really, I think. Very visionary. I think Cemetery Man, Michele really is polished, and it's really unfortunate that Cemetery Man is sort of like the last moment of the great Italian moment. But the Sect, he continues to work things out, and visually it is at moments stunning. Also, too, I picked up, now I guess I'll just end. It is definitely worth checking out, but you gotta let it take its time with you. And maybe like with I Heard in a Violent Nature is a type of movie that if you've never seen it before, you probably shouldn't be putting it on at 11 o'clock at night if you're dead tired. And this is another one you probably shouldn't be putting on at 11 o'clock at night if you're dead tired. Not with a 117-minute runtime, I think. I mean, look at that. This is where this really shines, man. I watched a bit of it last night. I saw the Sympathy for the Devil, the interview with director Michele Soavi. God, what else did I watch? The Birth of Evil, interview with film historian Fabrizio Severin, which was really great, man. That was a nice doc. Into the Dark Well, interview with Alan Jones was also really good. I've seen Catacomb in the Kitchen. That is pretty cool. And Owner of a Lonely Heart, interview with Giovanni Lombardo Radice. Also good. Haven't got to the other stuff yet. Oh, I did see the one with Dario Argento. You're the Devil in Disguise. That was pretty good. I saw that last night. So that's where I think the Severin releases really shine, is the amount of extras that they put in. So you can really sort of get a nice idea of the world that was coming to an end. And that is the world that I fell into in the 80s VHS boom, you know, video rental stores. And thankfully I had a video store that had quite a large foreign selection, and a big part of that foreign selection, of course, at the moment was Italian cinema. And then, so aside from Fangoria and Corazon and whatnot, that's how I fell into seeing some of these guys for the very first time, man, on VHS. And now we get to celebrate, whether it's a remastered from a 4K or 4K. And I got the Gates of Hell on 4K, a 4K release, and that is by Cauldron, and that is beautiful. I would love for Severin or someone to give Stage Fright the 4K treatment and get this on 4K with a lot of extras. I think that would be phenomenal, right? Real quick though, Donaggio, the composer, things like Dress to Kill, Don't Look Now, The Howling, editor Fredicelli, Tenebrae, Deep Red, Opera, Phenomena, Prestipino, Demons 1 and 2, Opera, Burial Ground, City of the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell, Stavelati, on the effects, Phenomena, Cemetery Man, Demons 1 and 2, Opera. Kind of get the point, man. It's a pretty good set of ingredients in terms of the hands in creating quite a visionary experience. Is the story as polished as you would expect, or you would see perhaps, you know, Cemetery Man or even Stage Fright? Because Stage Fright is small, limited, restrained by its budget, and it's tight, man. It's tight. But once you get away from that, things start to open up for him, and with that comes the challenges with that, right? So, you know, it's good stuff though, man. It's good stuff. Good stuff. The only other thing, if you're a really big fan of him, which is really cool aesthetically, is this idea where in Stage Fright, you know, the aquarium is sort of a metaphor for everything going on inside with the predator and the smaller fish and all of that. Everything's sort of contained in an aquarium type idea, hence Aquarius. This one, our protagonist's home is the aquarium. Right, and so water plays a real important part. Animals do too in this, in the imagery and the nightmares that she will have, and what this guy, as this cult leader, is up to, man, and how we find out that she has been basically brought along ever since her infancy. She has been sort of prepared for this final climactic moment in her life, and she's actually given a choice in the end as to how she is going to accept all of this. And her choice, it's an interesting one. I kind of dug how it ended. I actually did. It was good. So anyway, so there you go. A little bit, a lot, but you know, it's Italian and it's Michele Soavi. So as always, man, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.